Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Sitting in for Pinky Webb, I'm Ruth Cabal. Today on the program, lawmakers approved the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, or Bayanihan 2, laying down the government's COVID-19 recovery and response plans and allocating the necessary funds. Also, senators wrap up their probe on alleged corruption in PhilHealth, but some lawmakers are calling for the abolition of the agency. And as Metro Manila and nearby provinces shift back to general community quarantine status, can the country afford another lockdown if the coronavirus cases continue to rise? Senate Finance Committee Chair Sonny Angara joins us live. The Senate has ratified the final version of the Bayanihan to Recover as One bill, also known as Bayanihan 2. The bill allots a total of 165.5 billion pesos to address the economy and the COVID-19 pandemic. It also extends the emergency powers granted to the president in the Bayanihan 1 law, which lapsed on June 5. House Deputy Speaker El Rey Villafuerte says the House is set to ratify the bill on Monday. Once ratified by both chambers of Congress, the bill will now go to the president to be signed into law. Let's go straight to the source of the story. That's Senate Finance Committee Chair Sonny Angara. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Ruth. Thank you for having me on your program. Good morning to our viewers.
Senator, the Senate ratified the bill yesterday, and in your statement, you were saying it was a gargantuan task to pass this bill. What's the biggest challenge? What was the hardest part for you?
The biggest challenge, perhaps, Ruth, was trying to accommodate all those who wanted or needed funding, given the limited fiscal space available of around 140, 150 billion. All sectors, of course, are affected during this pandemic. So you had the transportation sector telling us, well, that's not enough. The tourism sector telling us they need more money. Things like that. But at the end of the day, that's why you're elected to office. You have to make these difficult choices.
Mm-hmm. When you say difficult choices, ano po ba yung, I have a list here of yung pinagbigyan nyo ng funds, yung mga allocations. But what was the hardest part? Yung parang tinapyasan nyo, or you wanted to give more to that sector? Ano sa tingin nyo?
I think given the unemployment figures, you really have to give more money to Dole, and you hope that we're giving them 16 billion, actually, given I think there's 27% unemployment or something like that, no? So you're talking about maybe 7-8 million Filipinos. So yun talaga, we hope that is sufficient to last us till the end of the year, because at least by the end of the year, come January 1, 2021, meron na tayong 2021 budget na pwedeng sumalo sa ating mga kababayan, and that will be, but hopefully this is enough to kind of spur the economic activity also, especially sa mga industry na talagang tinamaan, the hard-hit industries like tourism, transportation, agriculture. They say also schools and our hospitals are challenged in these times. You have to adjust. So enrollment is down. For the hospitals, sometimes the reimbursements for PhilHealth insurance comes late, so yung operating capital nila is affected. So we tried to create a fund in various government banks or financial institutions, primarily the Land Bank, the DBP, Development Bank of the Philippines, the PhilGuarantee, andyan din po yung Small Business Corporation for concessional low-interest loans para naman sa mga small MSMEs or micro, small, and medium entrepreneurs. So talagang yun lang. Ang naririnig nga natin is 2020 is not really a year for making money. It's a year for survival. So a lot of this assistance is targeted towards businesses in the hope that they will keep operating despite current losses, with a view towards the future and with a view towards maintaining jobs. Wag muna sana mag-retrench kung kaya.
Yeah, you mentioned already some of yung highlights nitong bill, no? And the biggest was given to, like what you mentioned, yung capital infusion for government banks, no? Para mas maraming mapautang, especially dun sa MSMEs. Ano pa po ba yung sa tingin nyo yung magagandang features nitong batas na ito?
Well, there's food security is also important, Ruth, no? So we gave 24 billion to the Department of Agriculture because previous to COVID-19, madali lang mag-angkat ng pagkain. It's easy to trade, to import, to sell. But it seems that right now what countries are doing is they're concentrating, not assuming they can rely on reliable trade channels. So we really have to beef up our food security because we import a lot of food. But in terms of securing enough rice, enough supply of essential products, yon kailangan talaga natin ng tulong. And of course, kailangan din ng ating mga magsasaka ng working capital and loans for some enterprises para yun nga nabanggit natin. They don't fold up o kahit talo sila in the short run, they still make that crucial decision to keep their businesses as a going concern. Importante po 'yon. So yung schools, yung eskwelahan din at saka yung mga hospital, importante, vital industries po ito, especially hospitals in the time of a health pandemic. You know, the private hospitals, some of the smaller hospitals, yung really they make money from non-COVID cases, but during the quarantine hindi sila kumita dahil they were concentrating on COVID, and of course there were some tighter restrictions as to admitting or to operating for example on non-COVID cases. So naapektuhan yon, and at the same time if PhilHealth is reimbursing the claims of hospitals, which is the complaint of many of I think the Philippine Hospital Association the Philippine Hospital Association wrote to Secretary Duque a few months ago complaining about the late remittances. Apektado talaga yung operations nila. That's why we included them in these funds you mentioned sa ating government financial institutions. Widely available yan to pati yung bumabalik na OFWs route.
Yes.
Kailangan mabigyan din ng magandang kinabukasan or options at least. Pagtayo sila ng negosyo or I put up some cottage industry or small micro business kahit sa probinsya, yon available din yun yung pondo na yon for these kinds of interventions. Pero you asked me ano yung malalaking mga allotments dito. The biggest allotment is still aside from the loans to affect individuals and businesses. Ang biggest intervention dito yung sa health side because we have funds for testing and possibly for a vaccine. May standby funds ho tayo dyan for the DOH to purchase or to procure a possible vaccine because we're hearing a lot of news from different countries, from Russia, from England, from South America and the United States about a possible vaccine coming online in the next few months, no? So importante hindi rin tayo madehado diyan, and there is provision for that. Tapos yung kulang din tayo according to the IATF or the Interagency Task Force comprised of different agencies fighting COVID, DOH, DILG. Kulang din tayo sa ating contact tracing, sa ating isolation and quarantine dahil dapat kompleto yung strategiya mo. Nagte-test ka nga, hindi ka naman nagko-contact trace, hindi ka naman din nag-isolate and quarantine. So all of these components are crucial. Sa ngayon, kulang tayo ng contact tracers ayon sa DILG.
Yes.
Kailangan nila mag-train ng contact tracers. Of course, in the meantime, we're trying to make do with the existing network of our barangay health workers, yung mga barangay officials natin. Tumutulong lahat yan, no? But I guess kulang pa rin according to the Department of Interior and Local Government. So binigyan natin sila ng pondo dito to hire, and we also gave money for the construction of quarantine facilities and isolation facilities. Kasi pag binuksan po natin yung ekonomiya, Ruth, we need to have testing and isolation centers across the country, no? Hindi pwedeng sa mga
Senator, you were mentioning malaki nga yung bulk ng funds that will go to the health department, health workers, isolation centers, and you were also saying yung kanina yung reimbursement ng PhilHealth even to private hospitals, no? But syempre nandun yung fear na nako sa PhilHealth na naman mapupunta yung pondo. Who will manage these funds, especially for the health sector?
Actually, tama ka, Ruth, no? That was a concern. In fact, the IATF wanted to give the money straight to PhilHealth to reimburse the hospitals right away. Pero as you know, the Senate is investigating PhilHealth currently. And in the course of our investigation, lumabas na may 200 billion pa sila na pondo. In fact, there is, I think, 22 billion according to one of their vice presidents. May 22 billion pa sila sa COVID response. So I mean, on paper, it's more than enough, no? I don't know what's taking long. Baka ma-bureaucracia sila. There's some insinuations or allegations of favoritism and corruption.
Yes.
So sa amin, ang ginawa namin nakalagay sa standby yon. And in the meantime, we'll give the health funds to the DOH. So aside from yung binanggit natin, and DND also is the one that pays the hotels. Kapag merong OFW, for example, na dumating, saan natin siya ilalagay kung he tests COVID positive.
Okay.
Yun, gobyerno ang nagbabayad ng kanyang pagkain, gobyerno nagbabayad ng kanyang tirahan. So naubos yun yung pondo na yun. And we had to replenish it here dito sa Bayanihan 2 bill, no? And there is also the need to bring up our capacity, no? So the yung pag-build up ng bed capacity ng mga hospital, yung pag-hire ng additional health personnel, yun ang isang constraint nga to building up our testing capacity. Sabi nila, kulang tayo ng technologies and analyze the result. Kaya parang humahaba yung pila o tumatagal yung antay sa resulta ng COVID test, no? These are all the associated problems. Kailangan talaga iangat natin yung kapasidad ng ating health system para mabilis. Kasi nga kung hindi ka number one, if you're not testing enough, number two, kung yung testing mo matagal yung resulta, then apektado yung buong chain ng interventions mo. You cannot trace in real time. Hindi mo na na-trace, yung dapat na trinace mo at in-isolate mo, naka-infect na siya ng mas marami. Ano yun chain reaction yan, di ba, Ruth? So, we're trying to look at each, dito sa COVID, you're only as strong as your weakest point. So, dapat wala tayong masyadong weak points sa health response natin. So, kaya yung health gets a big chunk of the funding dito sa ilalim ng Bayanihan.
But anyway, the law also has provisions for an audit and also yung monthly report ni Presidente. But we'll talk more about that. We'll be taking a short break first. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Senator Sonny Angara. Senator, the President would repeatedly say in his speeches na wala na tayong pera. Can you just explain to us where will we get the funding for Bayanihan 2?
I think you have to contextualize these statements of the President. I think he made those statements in regard to requests that we still give money even if the quarantine has lapsed. Ideally, maganda yon, Ruth, no? Dahil pag hindi nakapagtrabaho yung iba and maraming nawalan ng trabaho. So talagang ma-appreciate nila at magagamit nila yung tulong. But given that in Bayanihan 1, I think more than 300 billion ang nagastos natin dahil nakalagay dun sa batas is that 18 million families dapat mabigyan. And to this day, I don't think na exhaust pa yung 18 million or nabigyan lahat ng 18 million dahil may naririnig pa kaming mga reklamo. There are complaints na hindi lahat nakatanggap. But I think he made those remarks in that context. Hindi na natin magawa yung ganong kakalaking response. But we should do a more targeted response to yung, as we've been discussing, ano yung pinaka-urgent needs ng bayan sa ngayon. And number one, we cannot get the economy going if people have no confidence that they can go out there safely. Kaya nag-i-invest tayo sa health capacity ng ating bansa. Dahil kahit gusto natin na willing si Pangulo na at ang IATF na buksan yung ekonomiya, kung wala namang kumpiyansa ang tao, wala ring silbi dahil hindi lalabas ang tao, hindi sila pupunta ng mall, hindi sila kakain ng restaurant. Kung tingin nila, hindi talaga safe yung... That's why we make these big investments in him. So I think you have to contextualize his statements. There's money for certain targeted interventions. Pero yung talagang everyone, lahat mabibigyan. Siguro yung ganong approach, medyo na-exhaust na yon sa Bayanihan 1.
Kasi di ba dito sa Bayanihan 2, meron kayong particular for transportation sector, for individuals in crisis, you'll be giving to DSWD. Even for athletes, nakita ko may provision for national athletes and coaches, ano?
Yes, that's correct, Ruth. Kasi under Bayanihan 1, we gave authority to the executive branch, the president and the other agencies. Kasi nga, hindi natin alam gaano katagal yung quarantine. So, okay, may power to realign kayo. Usually, in a normal year, kung ano yung binudget ng Kongreso, kailangan stick to that. Yung the President and the agencies have to stick to that. They have to follow that menu strictly. But since very bago itong COVID, binigyan natin sila ng the Congress authorized the executive branch to have more leeway to realign funds and to react to spending. Kung anong kailangan dyan. O may umuuwing OFW, kailangan natin gastusan yan. Kailangan natin na ilagay sa quarantine center. Kailangan natin magbigay ng pagkain, for instance. So, we needed to respond to the needs of the time.
Particular sector. Senator, yesterday may nakita ko na video ni Senator Pia Cayetano in one of your sessions na sinasabi niya na she sort of took offense daw na bakit nagpaparinig na medyo selfish or may personal agenda yung mga taga-House. I think she was also referring to yung issue on yung allocation for tourism. Can you just tell us about this? Kasi kahit si Senator Drillo nag-issue ng statement about it na parang kasi daw yung iba gusto sa kubeta or sa kalsada ibigay yung allocation for tourism. Can you just clarify these issues?
I think there was just a miscommunication between her and some of our other colleagues sa Senate. And I think she just wanted to put forward that because her brother is the speaker, hindi naman fair yung ibang insinuations. And sa akin naman, we don't look at the motives of someone. We just look at the merits of the argument. Ang argument ng Kamara is in favor of infrastructure. And we understand that kasi minsan yun ang hinahanap ng kanilang constituents. I was also a congressman once. And your constituents are looking at, ano bang nadala mo dito sa distrito natin, congressman, at anong maitutulong mo sa amin. So ganun yung pananaw ng ating mga kongresista, and you cannot blame them for that because that is their deliverable. Every election, sisingilin sila. Kami naman sa Senado, iba yung pananaw namin. Of course, we're looking at the needs of the whole country and different industries. So we just needed to reconcile that in Bayanihan. And I think we did. May konting give and take on the part of the Senate. May give and take din on the part of the House. Kasi dito sa issue ng turismo na nagmulan yata ng misunderstandings or disagreements, nagkaisa naman kami dyan. And pursuant to the House viewpoint, we gave a little bit also to tourism infrastructure. But we also gave a little bit to yung sa tourism industry, yung hinihingi ng tourism industry dahil sarado nga sila. These tourism establishments have been closed for 3 to 4 months or even longer. No? So talagang, if you're talking about Boracay, a lot of these tourism-dependent destinations, patay talaga ang kabuhayan nila doon. So yung hinihingi na nila is working capital para hindi sila magsara, hindi sila mag-lay off ng mga employees, at may mabigay sila sa kanilang mga workers and those dependent upon them. No?
Senator, there's also a standby fund for a COVID-19 vaccine. We'll talk about that after the short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today is Senator Sonny Angara. Sir, in this Bayanihan 2, there's a standby fund, 10 billion pesos for COVID-19 vaccine. Pero i-waive daw yung fourth phase of clinical trials. Can you explain this to us, sir?
Yes, we had to insert a special provision dyan, Ruth, kasi sa ilalim po ng Universal Healthcare Law, the government cannot procure or distribute medicines or vaccines kapag walang stage 4 trials. But yung stage 4 trials, medyo tumatagal yan, and it involves a big portion of the population. That's my understanding of it. No? It's quite technical. But dito naman, ang reality naman on the ground dito sa pag-procure ng potential vaccine, unahan ito. So with the limited supply, because it will take siguro a few more months from development of the vaccine, there's just an initial batch of or supply of vaccines produced, no? So unahan yon dun sa initial batch, and then it will take months before the mass roll out of the vaccine. So syempre ang gusto natin nasa unahan tayo. So if we strictly follow the protocols stage 4, pag natapos na yon, wala ka na, tapos ka na, ubos na yung vaccine. So for procurement, we distinguished. Pag pino-procure mo yan, you can start the pre-procurement activities already dahil yung government procurement natin takes time. You can already start that kahit wala ka pang phase 4. Pero pag dinidistribute mo na yung vaccine at ina-administer mo na, those are when they have to kick in. Kailangan at least simultaneous, determined by the Food and Drug Administration, the DOH, through the HTAC, yung Health Technology Assessment group.
And also, kanina pinag-usapan din natin to kasi nga yung ang problema yung sa audit of funds, and then it has a provision on hindi na parang every Monday, no? Hindi na every week ang reporting ni Presidente, but monthly. Paano pong mangyayari?
That's correct. Sa Bayanihan 1, it was weekly. And kahit yung mga senador, sabi nila, oh, tapos na ba? May bagong report. So parang hirap na hirap yung mga agencies kasi they're at the forefront. Ang dami nilang ginagawa, pagod na sila, tapos biglang maggagawa pa sila ng report. So humingi sila ng palugit na wag naman sana weekly yung report. So that's okay as long as there is a clear reporting to the Oversight Committee of Congress, and dinagdag din namin at best of the President, mind you, is to include the Commission on Audit. So magre-report si Presidente not only to Congress, both houses of Congress, but also to the Commission on Audit. I think he's trying to demonstrate that they want to be transparent and accountable dito sa disbursement ng funds.
And then the Bayanihan 2 law will work until will be implemented until the end of the year, ano po? And so what's going to happen for 2021? So when we do the budget, mas marami na talaga for allocated for COVID-19 crisis recovery.
Palagay ko, pero yung ibang dapat ilagay sa 21 budget, inuna na namin dito, Ruth. Like yung DepEd kasi walang pondo yan sa 2020 for digital education. And yet, I think na-postpone naman, supposed to be this month, magpapasokan na. We'll probably start classes, I don't know, maybe in September or October. But even then, the DepEd has very little provision for digital learning. And buti na lang, some local government units are stepping up. I think then they're giving, I think Pasig City, Manila is doing it. QC, I think, is also doing it to a certain extent, I think. Giving out laptops and tablets and everything. Kasi dahil the reality on the ground talaga is hindi naman lahat may smartphone na pwedeng gamitin for learning or education purposes, Ruth. So we have to find a way to fill up those holes dahil umpisa na po ang pasukan. At baka di na makaantay for the 2021 budget. Kaya inuna natin, naglagay tayo ng 4 billion for digital learning and the new modules that will be needed.
Senator, last na lang yung assurance for oversight when it comes to the use of funds. Kasi dun sa Bayanihan 1, you had to come up with a resolution for a special audit. So anong nandito sa Bayanihan 2 that will ensure na walang mangyayaring corruption in terms of disbursement of funds?
Well, because as we discussed earlier, Ruth, there will already be a ongoing report monthly, Bayanihan. So if assuming we pass it next week, pirmahan ni Presidente, he'll have to report already the following month on that. And so September, October, December, may report yan. At ang maganda dyan is the Commission on Audit or COA can already start auditing the funds. They don't have to request the documents because they will be furnished these documents every month. So yun ang I think commitment to transparency and accountability, at makikita talaga doon. Kung may adverse finding, the COA can also make comments, I suppose, no? Just in the way that kami naman sa Senado, nagko-comment din kami pag may nakikita kaming pagkukulang or naririnig namin on the ground, may feedback na feedback initially was walang PPEs masyado sa mga government hospitals. So yun importante yun that the government is all working together imbis na just making the observation with a view to correct any mistakes that are made, no.
We appreciate you joining us this morning, Senator Sonny Angara, and thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Ruth Cabal. You're watching CNN Philippines.